What's poppin', y'all? It's your boy. It is Guardy3, and welcome into the morning show on this fine morning. Of course, joining me as always, it is the greatest co-host of all time, ladies and gentlemen. It is Mo Betta. How you doing, Mo?
I'm doing great on a great Thursday. Appreciate you guys so much for stopping in this morning with joining me and Brett on the morning show. Thoughts and prayers go out to everybody affected by the hurricanes in the Carolinas as well as Florida. Uh, we're thinking about you and your families. Just want to get that out there.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, a lot of things can be replaced, but not a human life. So let's just hope
Correct.
everybody's safe, and hopefully that's it for hurricanes and natural disasters down there for a while. So, of course, Mo, it's our favorite time of the year. We got football going on. Preseason basketball just started up. We're a little less than 2 weeks away from the start of the NBA season. So that's kind of where I want to start. We've had some preseason basketball. I wanted to ask you, did anything stand out to you? Who stood out to you so far in these couple of preseason games? Anybody notable?
The team that stood out so far, and it's early, it's really early, but I like what I see, and I'm not surprised at all that I was watching San Antonio play. I think Chris Paul and Wemby have instant chemistry. I think Chris Paul's going to elevate Wemby offensively and defensively. Look, he's not the defender he once was, Chris Paul, but his mind, his knowledge, how to play angles, how to anticipate, he's going to make Wemby a legitimate candidate for DPOY this season.
No, I absolutely agree. That clip was going around of that nice little CP3 to Wemby lob, and I swear they're going to be able to make a 30-minute montage of those two throwing lobs by the All-Star break. That is just an absolutely wild duo. Even at his advanced stage there, Chris Paul's just ability to really read the floor and look for Wemby and get him into the right spots. That is
Yeah,
absolutely huge.
I did see the Knicks game. Look, in the second half, they started running a lot of two-man game between Towns and Brunson, which was very effective. I think that's something that Knicks fans and opponents used to. They should get a heavy dose of it because Towns is very quick at rolling to the basket, but because of his shooting ability, you have to respect that when they do the handoff. So I think that two-man game is going to open up the floor and give guys like OG and Bridges opportunities to score.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I know one team that stood out to me in the little bit I watched them, the Phoenix Suns, with Tyus Jones at point guard. I really like what I saw there because I actually got to watch KD get to his spots and then Tyus set him up. Instead of what I saw last year was just KD having to grind and just battle his way down low. So he's extremely tired by the time he gets there. Or Devin Booker having to spend 10 seconds just grinding and getting to his spot. Having a guy like Tyus Jones that allows you to run some off-ball action to make it easier on those guys, that Suns offense already just infinitely looked better than anything we saw last year from them.
It's nice to have a true point guard running things, getting guys in their spots, setting them up for catch and shoot opportunities. So look, I thought one of the best offseason moves was Phoenix acquiring Tyus Jones. I was just shocked they were able to get him for so little.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. One of the best backup point guards in the league. We really saw that a couple of years ago when people were sitting there going, well, John Morant just got hurt. Like, what's up, Keith? Thank you for tuning in also, Linda.
Hey, what's up, Key? Hi, Linda.
I say John Morant goes down with an injury, and yet, the Grizzlies are still winning, and people are like, well, how are they doing this? It's like, well, they have a great backup point guard to keep the ship afloat. That's one of the things that a lot of teams could use. So Phoenix is lucky to be able to snag him for what they did. Also, man, OKC might just win everything this year. That might be my preseason overreaction, but it might also not be an overreaction. And honestly, I'm talking about the addition of Isaiah Hartenstein. Even just from the past, watching only 1 or 2 games of this OKC duo there, Hartenstein brings just such a great playmaking dynamic from the center position that they didn't necessarily have last year. The man came in and racked up 7 assists. That team just looks so fluid and so good. And honestly, him running handoffs with Chet, like, I don't know how you're supposed to stop that. That is the most wild thing I may have ever seen. Watching 2 7-footers be that fluid and run handoffs like they're doing. So they're going to be able to do so many different things on offense that I'm not sure how you stop that team.
I'm not sure how you stop them. And what I'm more interested is how are you going to be able to score on them late in games? Because when you have Hartenstein and Chet in there, you're going to have elite rim protection, also elite defensive rebounding. And then on the flip side, don't forget, you got Lou Dort, Alex Caruso, and SGA. Those are 3 top perimeter defenders in all of the NBA. So I think OKC has everything you need on both ends of the floor. I can understand why people have them as the front runner to come out of the West.
No, absolutely. And like when your 6th best defender on the team is Jalen Williams, yeah, you're in a very good spot at that point. That's just absolutely insane depth that they have. I'll say some rookies that I like. Shout out Reed Shepard. He was looking good so far. Dillingham was getting buckets. He looks like he can be that spark plug off the bench like I think he could be for the Timberwolves. Looks like exactly what he's going to be. So overall, I know it's a short sample size, but man, I'm so looking forward to this regular season to start. It's already been a lot of fun even watching just these preseason games.
I watched Sacramento last night versus Golden State. It was interesting. I thought the additions of DeAnthony Milton and Buddy Hield so far, at least in the preseason, they're fitting in well with what Golden State wants to do. They want to play a lot faster this year. And I thought watching DeMar DeRozan, it looked seamless. The only question I have about the Kings is can they get stops when needed? And in late game situations, are DeRozan and Fox going to have to come to some kind of arrangement about who's going to close late in the game?
Yeah, no, that's a very fair question. I think my guess is it'll be kind of who's hot that night, and then they kind of roll with that. Yeah, and with defense, it's really going to fall all on Keegan Murray and Keon Ellis. I've said it before; those two have to be in the starting lineup to bring balance to it. And watching them in preseason, I still 100% believe that both of those guys, they need to be healthy if this Kings team wants to make a nice run. Because outside of that, them, defense starts to get really dicey after those two. So it'll be really interesting to see if they're able to pull it off.
I think the most intriguing team coming into this season for me, even though we just pointed out how talented OKC is the most intriguing team is the Memphis Grizzlies. If they're healthy coming into the season and Ja Morant's head's right, I've already seen signs that Zach Edey is going to be a perfect fit for them. Throw in a healthy Marcus Smart. Desmond Bane gets better every year. Jaren Jackson Jr. is a 2-way elite player. They have every element as well. Like, to me, they're the forgotten team in the West because everybody was hurt last year. I don't see how they're not one of the big contenders in the Western Conference. I think, barring a major injury, I have to see them as being one of the top 5 teams in the West, easy.
Yeah, no, absolutely. It'll be interesting to see the playoff picture because not only with the Memphis Grizzlies, they're probably going to kick somebody out. Like could also see this being the year that the Houston Rockets make a nice jump into the play-in picture. And if they do that, that's also another team that's getting kicked out. So I think that's just a very interesting situation going on in the West where we're going to see everything get shaken up.
It's really competitive in the West, and I think obviously, even though they made some solid pickups in terms of rotational players, I think the Clippers take a step back. Honestly, I would be surprised if the Clippers made the playoffs this season.
Nick Batum, you're going to have to do another carry job, but no. Yeah, apparently we're going to get Houston Harden in 2024. I don't think that translates over a full regular season. I think he starts off hot, but then it just kind of falls off because he starts running out of gas trying to play hero ball like he did in the past. Like at some point, he's going to realize, oh, shoot, I'm 34. This might not be as easy as before.
Right. That's what's going to happen. I actually agree with you. I think James Harden, he kind of looks like James Harden from Houston early. That doesn't last long. He can't sustain it, and his body wears down. It reminds him that we're a full 6-8 years older than Houston James Harden. What they need from the Clippers, and it's the same thing they've needed the last 5 seasons. They need Kawhi Leonard to be healthy, be able to sustain that through the regular season and into the postseason. If Kawhi Leonard's going to give you over 60 games, I think he gave them 65 last season, then they'll find a way to make the playoffs. The real question is, have they reduced themselves to a team that's just a playoff contender and no longer a title contender? Like unless something happens that I don't foresee happening, I don't look at the Clippers as title contenders right now.
Yeah, no, that I really don't either at this point. That ship has sailed. I think it almost sailed like 2 years ago. It feels like their last great chance was in the bubble. Because after that, when Kawhi Leonard just started falling apart, like 2021, they made it all the way to the conference finals. But, obviously without Kawhi Leonard, they couldn't really do much there. And after that, it's just been rough sailing for them.
I'm with you 100%. Look, I'm not one of those fans that worries about money. I value draft picks, but if you're going to make a crazy move, and this applies to any franchise, if the results is you end up winning at least one title, then that move worked. That's the ultimate goal. If the Minnesota Timberwolves win a title, nobody's going to remember that they gave up all those number 1 picks to get Rudy Gobert. All they're going to remember is it resulted in them winning a title. I feel the same way about the move that the Knicks just did, bringing in Towns, the money they paid OG. If it results in the Knicks winning a title at some point, maybe not this season, maybe next season, but if it does result in a title, money well spent. This applies to the Sixers as well. To me, I get it. Paul George he's got a resume. He's going to walk into the Hall of Fame, but he is 35. And I'm just wondering how much they're going to rely on a 35-year-old, never mind the regular season, but just in the postseason after you've played the regular season. It's a big move, and it's a great move if it results in a title. If it doesn't, it's just wasted time. It's wasted money, wasted resources. I think that sometimes some franchises, they don't want to do the hard work and realize, like, we had a window, it's closed. It's time to actually apply our resources to a rebuild, or at least a reset. I think the Clippers need to look at it that way. I think Minnesota's in the early stages where they're still competitive. So I get that they just was in the Western Conference Finals. The Sixers have a perennial MVP candidate in Embiid. Maxi's going to be one of the young stars that I think elevates again this season. So I understand in a competitive East why you pull the Paul George move, I just don't feel like it's the move that goes, they're going to unseat the Celtics. I don't feel like that.
Yeah, no, I fully agree with that. That's I call it the Anthony Davis logic, where you traded a lot for him, but you got a ring, so it doesn't really matter at that point. So I think it'll definitely be interesting seeing all these teams mesh. The Knicks, they look legit. I just question their depth at the end of the day. Will they be able to stay healthy and be all together when it matters? Because not only is depth an issue, you're also fighting Tom Thibodeau's minutes. It's going to run you into the ground, and let's hope that everybody's healthy at the end. And if they're not, I think that I'm a very big Deuce McBride fan, and Miles McBride and everybody, but I'm not sure how far that bench gets you. OG and them are missing time when it matters.
That's a great point. That's a great point. Their biggest enemy might be the enemy within, because Tibbs playing people 39, 40 minutes a game. That's not sustainable, and it ends up hurting you on the back end. I think that Tibbs has got to find a way to do something he's not big on, using some of your younger players and giving them some minutes and finding ways to rest your starters, to make them at least sustain them throughout the regular season. Tom Thibodeau's old school. I just don't think that approach works in a long regular season.
No, it really doesn't. We've seen it time and time again with Tom Thibodeau led teams. Those early Bulls teams, obviously with Derrick Rose injury, but we also see clutch guys like Luol Deng and all sorts of players like supporting key pieces always banged up and not 100% when they get to the playoffs under him. So it'll be really interesting.
Brett, you know what? They burn out. They burn out. Think about Luol Deng at his peak. He was starting to become a star, but because he was logging 41, 42 minutes a game, he burnt out. Joakim Noah won DPOY, was one of the best defenders in the NBA, and I literally think the way Tibbs used him, he burnt him out. I mean, he made such a huge drop, and it wasn't just from injuries; it was just from the wear and tear of playing that many minutes. I think you would think he would have learned his lesson, but I think he only knows how to coach one way.
No, that's for sure. Mo, I don't really get a lot of chances to talk to NFL with you on shows, so I'm going to take advantage of that.
Let's do it.
We have a new starter in Foxborough this week. Jacoby Brissett is out. Drake May is in. And he's going against a Texans team, which we remember the first time they faced a rookie quarterback was Caleb Williams this year, and they made his life absolutely miserable with 7 sacks. Mo, do you think this was the right time to bring in Drake May, or would you have maybe waited a couple weeks?
I would have waited, but I think that just like when I spoke with the NFL Genius yesterday, there's a point to be made that you've got to give your fan base some hope. You've got to do something to energize your team. Jacoby Brissett he just does just enough not to do that. I think bringing in Drake May, it's going to energize the team. It's going to bring some hope, some energy to the fan base. So look, they weren't winning, and they're not. It's not like they're going to be a contender in the AFC. If you're going to play him, if you think he's your guy, why not put the kid out there and see what you got?
Yeah, no, I absolutely agree. And I think, going against the Texans this week, I think there are a lot of ways that you can protect him. He's going to take some hits. He's going to get beat up a little, but I'm fully expecting them to really come out with kind of a dumbed-down game plan this week to, also try to preserve him. A lot of runs, a lot of screens, quick passes, quick moving hitters. Jacoby Brissett is a solid stopgap quarterback. That's all he is. He has flaws. He maybe has one of the worst deep balls in the NFL. Like, watching him throw deep at times kind of hurts. So, what Drake May coming in with a bigger, more live arm, I think guys like Pop Douglas and everybody will really appreciate that because it's not like they can't get open. We've seen plenty of times where these guys will get open deep, but Brissett just doesn't have the arm to get it to him. So I think getting Drake May in there, this will just completely unlock a new dynamic to that offense. But it also might not look that way for a couple weeks because I think it might take 2 weeks before they start going, okay, we're going to start really opening up the playbook to you.
But you know what? I think that you got to get the rookie in there. Is he going to make rookie mistakes? Is he going to throw into double coverage or throw some picks here and there? He will. I don't think that's going to sway Patriots fans one way or another because they understand this is year one. They also understand they don't have the most talented offense in all of NFL. I think what they want to see is like, does this kid have heart? Can you see the arm talent? If he throws a pick, is he one of the guys that can turn around and throw a 60-yard strike? And I do think he has that kind of ability. So I don't think they worry so much about the turnovers.
Yeah, no, I
think ultimately the offense, even the defense has actually been solid at times, but when your offense is going 3 and out, 3 and out, 3 and out, your defense is playing more plays, it wears on them, and eventually they start giving in. So I just think Drake May, if nothing else, he's going to step onto the field and bring a lot of energy and for the fan base, a lot of hope.
Yeah, and for a rebuilding team, sometimes that's all you can really ask for is just a little bit of hope. It's not about the turnovers at this point or any dumb plays. It's really about the flashes.
Exactly.
Is there anything you can see that makes you look at it and go, all right, I can see the vision. This guy's going to be a great quarterback in a couple of years. Give him the hope, give him the flashes, and you can sell your fan base on next year.
Agreed.
And of course, Mo, we got the big news. Robert Saleh is out. He was fired as the Jets head coach. Was this just a knee-jerk reaction? Was it justified? What do you make of this whole New York Jets fiasco over there?
I honestly felt like during the offseason was the beginning of the end for Robert Saleh, just how he handled or didn't handle Aaron Rodgers in terms of coming to mandatory training camp and practice. I mean, there was just an odd back and forth. And if it was a power struggle, Aaron Rodgers won. I think that's the problem. Remember, Robert Saleh is a defensive coach. He's a defensive-minded coach. The Jets defense has only given up 85 points this season. Like, I was talking to Gene yesterday. They're not as dominant as they were last year, but they've only given up 85 points this season. The problem is the offense has only scored 96 points. They're not as good as people projected them to be because the offense is bad. We thought Garrett Wilson would have a breakout season. Garrett Wilson had 2,000-yard seasons with Zach Wilson as his quarterback. You figure if you get Aaron Rodgers, Garrett Wilson is going to be a 1,200, 1,300-yard, 9,500 catch receiver. And it hasn't happened. The offense has been bad because Aaron Rodgers has been bad. If he played as well as he's been running his mouth, they'd be undefeated. He just hasn't played well. The only thing he's shown any strength at is getting rid of the coach. They got rid of the coach. But the offense is bad, and they lose, and you fire Saleh. The defense has been one of the best in the league. Again, not as good as what it was last year, but if your defense only gives up 85 points total, the offense is the problem. Why isn't Hackett fired? Why isn't more attention being drawn to Aaron Rodgers? Because again, Saleh doesn't do anything on that side of the ball. I think that Woody Johnson, who was the one who ultimately fired him, he got involved. And that tells me this is all about covering up, and Gene pointed out yesterday, for their GM, Joe Douglas. Joe Douglas has made a lot of mistakes, and he hasn't been held accountable for them. They've got a defensive end, a pass rushing end that they got from the Philadelphia Eagles, still not playing. He was a member of the New York Jets, and Hassan Reddick is not playing at all, and that's on Joe Douglas. You gave up assets for a guy who's giving you nothing because he's not even on the field or part of the team. I don't understand how more attention not put on how lackluster the offensive play calling has been. And again, if you know the relationship between Hackett and Aaron Rodgers, we can call Hackett the OC, Bret, but you know and I know Aaron calls his own plays. Hackett doesn't tell him what to do. He tells Hackett what to do.
Yeah, and that's the name that always that came up to me because I thought this was a knee-jerk reaction right from when it was announced. Like you said, it's the offense that's struggling, and you knew this was going to happen. Nathaniel Hackett always run a very special offense with Aaron Rodgers. It's called "Yo Rodgers, bail me out." We saw it for years in Green Bay.
Right.
Oh, Nathaniel Hackett's this offensive genius. Was he, or was Aaron Rodgers playing at an MVP level and could cover up for Nathaniel Hackett? Well, now we're seeing in a completely new situation. Rodgers is, an aging vet. He's not MVP anymore. He could benefit from a little creativity to the offense. And I don't think it was any more apparent how uncreative and unserious this offense was on that last play when Aaron Rodgers threw that game-ending pick against the Vikings. 3rd and 10, 50 seconds left. You have time. You can get 5 yards or even 6 and still set yourself up for a solid 4th down attempt. So you don't need to get it all at once. What's the play call? 4 verts. Just like I'm playing Madden. Everybody go long. And Aaron Rodgers is definitely part of the blame for that too. And you also saw that on that same exact play. There's no chemistry at all with Rodgers and these receivers. Williams, if he knew Rodgers, should have known that Rodgers likes to go to that back shoulder fade. Except you can tell the chemistry wasn't there. He's expecting that ball to go into the end zone and it to be a jump ball and him to get a chance that way. But instead, Rodgers went to the back shoulder. Stephon Gilmore read it. Mike Williams had no clue it was going there at all. And ball game. It's over. Robert Saleh's job's done. The Jets got another loss. Aaron Rodgers definitely should have been missing mandatory minicamp to go to Egypt or whatever else he was doing because it's clear as day that he needed to be building chemistry with these receivers.
100%.
Just like we should have known. And this is something I've been preaching before the start of the year. Nathaniel Hackett's not good. He's not a good OC. I still expected better from this offense, but that's probably just because I think very highly of Aaron Rodgers watching him in Green Bay all these years. But I never said anything nice about Hackett because I knew, even watching him in Green Bay, you knew. When he had to call a game plan for, non-Rodgers quarterback, I think we had that one Jordan Love start. It was really bad. It was not great. And even half the time with Rodgers, the game plan wasn't necessarily great. Rodgers just had the chemistry with his receivers that he could overcome a lot of it. Well, here we go. Now he doesn't have that chemistry with the receivers. He doesn't have Devontae. He doesn't have guys like that. And now we're seeing what happens when you truly run a Nathaniel Hackett-led offense. It's not good. He's getting that same boost that Adam Gase got behind Peyton Manning. And now he's getting exposed when the quarterback can't carry him.
To your point, Bret, and you're a Packers fan, so you can appreciate this. What the offensive coordinator's job is, whether it's your starting quarterback or it's your backup, is you set him up for success by drawing up plays or having a game plan that bodes well to his skill set, the things he does well versus the things he doesn't do well. I don't know how you felt, but I'll be very honest. I'd seen Malik Willis in his time in Tennessee, and when the Packers got him, I just thought, so they got Malik Willis. They're good as long as Jordan Love doesn't go down. And lo and behold, Jordan Love misses some time, but your OC did a great job of drawing up a game plan that fit Malik Willis's skill set. And to be fair, Willis was for the time that he was there. And it goes to show you the right environment, the right coaching staff that's willing to adjust, that's willing to make adjustments on the fly. It just shows you the difference when a quarterback is coached well, when he's set up for success. It's very un-Carolina Panther like. It's very un-New York Jets like. And look, Aaron's a veteran quarterback. It's completely different. There's nothing Nathaniel Hackett can teach him. But what he could do is he could be a lot more creative in his play calling. And if your tackles aren't the strength of your offensive line, but you do have a nice center, two good guards, then why not run the ball more up the middle, run more traps or counters when you have the running backs that you have? Why not start off third and short versus always being third and long? I just think there's a serious disconnect, and firing Robert Saleh, I don't think that's going to turn around the New York Jets season. They may win a game. They may win their next game, but I don't think that changes anything. If the offense is going to still be a stagnant offense, they're still going to be they're going to be a 500 team. They're going to be an underachieving team.
No, absolutely. If you want to know what I thought about Malik Willis when Jordan Love first went down, I remember commenting, if we run a Wildcat all game next game with Josh Jacobs, I would completely understand.
Wildcat. Yeah, I was so impressed by how well he played. And like I said, a completely different looking player from what you saw with the Titans, which tells you something about what their OC and their quarterback coaches are not doing versus what the Packers were doing with him. Because now I'm looking at Malik Willis in a whole different light.
Yeah, and I think we kind of nailed the biggest problem, I think, with the Jets offense. It really comes down to you got to establish the run, and they just haven't been doing that. Like, I think Rodgers has shown that he still has, stuff left in the tank. But when he has to throw 50 times because you're just, or 40 or 50 times like he did against the Vikings, which is a terrible defense to be passing the ball that much against, and you're just not establishing the run at all, like, it's not great. So I'm hoping that he figures it out. They realize that they do have talented running backs and they're able to establish the run. Because I don't think Rodgers is done. I don't think he doesn't look washed. Like, he's definitely not the MVP anymore, but he can still make stuff happen. But
I agree.
Just got to acknowledge, hey, he needs help. He needs more help out there now. Can't just put it all on him. Hey, and guess what? Tonight, we got Thursday night football. Isn't it Niners Seahawks? How you excited to watch your team tonight? What do you make of tonight's game?
I'm anxious. The Niners are already 0-2 in the division. This is another division game. They have been inconsistent, to say the least. The last few seasons, we've been one of the best red zone teams in all of the NFL. This season, we've not been that. We're moving the ball between the 20s, and we're not getting touchdowns once we get into the red zone. And we're turning the ball over more. I think Brock Purdy has played pretty decent, but he has turned the ball over. If it hasn't been a pick, it's been a fumble. The offense has been erratic, and the defense has given up way too many explosive plays. Like, if you told me we're heading into this point of the season, and the Niners defense would have given up over 120 points already, I would have told you I don't think so. But that's the case. They're just not as good on the back end, and part of that is if we're keeping it a buck, they're not as good on the front end. They're not getting to the passer that normally when they were one of the top defenses, that front seven, especially the front four, they can get to the quarterback just rushing four. And they have struggled to do that consistently throughout this season. So I think this is a big game for the Niners. They're already 2-3, and you're 0-2 in the division. So they need the win, but they need to win in multiple ways. It's a win, but it's also a division win. The way they've played to this point, I think this might be one of those years where the Niners might go, they might be more 9-7 or 10-6. And maybe it might be as simple as you get back a healthy C-Mac who's great in the red zone, and the offense turns it around. I think that's part of it, but I also think that Kyle Shanahan has a tendency, and you know this, to get a little too cute in the red zone. If you're running the ball down the field with Mason and you get in the red zone and you try to get cute, you don't have to be cute. Keep running the ball down the throat of the Cardinals with Mason. Be a sledgehammer if necessary. So yeah, it's a big game. And it's a big game for the Seahawks as well. They're kind of very similar to the Niners. They have all the tools on offense. They have some talent on defense, but they've been a little bit up and down. So it's a big game for both teams. I'm excited and anxious at the same time, but I will absolutely be watching.
Yeah, that's fair enough. The one thing that surprised me watching the Niners is their lack of yards after the catch. That feels like a staple of the 49ers these past couple of years, and that they would absolutely gash teams with yards after the catch. And this year, it just does not feel like that's been the case. They've been getting brought down rather quickly after catching the ball. And that's just not something I'm used to seeing from this 49ers team. So it really, I think it's just showing too just how valued Christian McCaffrey truly is to that offense and how much he just breaks everything wide open out of the backfield because they've been sorely missing him. And with that tendonitis and everything he's got going on, who knows when he'll be back this year. So they'll have to figure something out quick.
Yeah, look, for sure, like I said, they've got to step it up on both sides, especially the defense. I think they've got to be just more consistent on first and second downs. When Kyler Murray broke out that 50-yard run for a touchdown, we know Kyler's quick and what he's capable of, but that was a lack of discipline because you're supposed to know your rush lanes, and there was no containment. And when he hit the seams, it was a dead sprint and it was over. This defense has got to be better. Maybe the players have to be better. Maybe have to be coached better. Look, a guy who's very familiar with this defense, who's very good as a defensive coordinator, he's not busy right now. I say call up Robert Saleh and say welcome back.
Hey, don't touch Robert Saleh. I'm trying to steal him in Green Bay. Because our defense with the Packers is interesting. Because we're like near the top of the league in sacks. At least we're up there as of a couple weeks there, coming into this week. We're number one in the league in turnovers. We are 32nd in the NFL in pass rush win rate. We're not actually winning at the line of scrimmage, which is interesting with how much we've still been able to create, havoc and get the ball turned over. We're getting it seems like a lot of coverage sacks and everything to start this year so far, but that's one thing that's driving me crazy as a Packers fan. Like, Rashawn Gary has been absolutely missing. In the last 3 out of 4 games, he's had 0 pressures. And the only guy who was consistently creating pressure to start the year, it felt like Devontae Wyatt, but he's currently hurt. We've had a couple of unsung heroes step up, but if there's one thing I'm concerned about with the Packers, start going into this next stretch of games is we got to start winning at the line of scrimmage more. It's great that we're able to still create some havoc and force some turnovers, but without any pressure on the quarterbacks, it's really not a guarantee that continues if we're not just winning at the line.
Hey, Brett, you know who's a Hassan Reddick?
Yeah,
He's not doing nothing. I mean, all you gotta do is just give him the money he wants. There you go.
I wouldn't hate that either. It just depends on the money he wants, I guess. Which I guess it must be a whole heck of a lot for the Jets to not be paying him at this point.
Well, he's super stubborn, obviously,
Mm-hmm.
but he went to a franchise. I can't speak to Joe Douglas, but their owner, Woody Johnson, he's another person. He's kind of like Jerry Jones. He interjects. He might be the most stubborn owner in the NFL. That guy's not going to pay Hassan Reddick a red cent. He's not going to give him anything until he actually returns to the team. And Hassan Reddick looks like he has no intentions of returning to the team. They're at a stalemate, and I think the solution is to facilitate some kind of deal where they get back some kind of compensation and he moves on.
Yeah, that's fair. And watching the Packers this past Sunday, Jordan Love is maybe the most hilarious quarterback to watch this year. Because let's start with the bad. This man still makes some just mind-bending decisions, and that was on both ends of the spectrum on Sunday. Jordan Love threw a really awful pick six against the Rams this past Sunday. Held onto the ball too long, and he tried to throw it while falling over in the end zone. Threw it right to a linebacker. But man, I also love the way he's played since the beginning of that fourth quarter against the Vikings. In the fourth quarter alone against the Minnesota Vikings, he went for 201 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a pick. That is a good game for a normal quarterback. And he did that in one quarter. He goes in against the Rams. He throws that stupid pick. But besides that, he also had another really good game, including, now I'm a firm believer that you can throw a completion and complete a pass. That doesn't make it a great decision.
Right.
Jordan Love proved that on Sunday, throwing it into triple coverage, but putting it right in the breadbasket to Jaden Reed. There was no margin for error on that throw, and he made it. Did that make it a great decision? Not necessarily, but that also just probably is the best throw of his career so far.
It was a great highlight. I watched it.
My favorite part was in the post-game presser. They asked him, what the coaches think of that throw? He goes, they weren't a fan of it. It was good to complete it, but they weren't a fan of the decision. Then they asked him, would you make the throw again? He got the biggest grin on his face and goes, no. I was like, Jordan, you're a bad liar. We all saw that grin. We've seen you play. You know that throw is coming again next game. Get out of here.
Brett, your team is sitting pretty right now in what looks like one of the better divisions in football. We knew what the Lions were going to be, but I don't think anybody, I know I didn't know what the Vikings were going to be, especially with Sam Darnold running the show. And then there's your Packers. Suddenly that's become one of the more interesting divisions in all of football. Do you think, because it's a stretch, but maybe this is the year. Is this the year where maybe 3 teams can come out of that division and make the playoffs?
Well, the way that division's playing, yeah, I can absolutely see it. I think this could be a year where that entire division sneaks into the playoffs.
That's crazy.
Before, and I could absolutely see it. It's interesting. I've seen the Vikings start out 5-0 before. It happened in 2016. Guess how they did in the playoffs? Trick question. They didn't make the playoffs. So the Vikings have shown that, they're able to start out hot. I question on if they can maintain it, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they are 5-0. They have started out absolutely fantastic. The Lions, we know they're not going away. I don't think Green Bay's going anywhere anytime soon. And the Bears, they've shown they're resilient. They have an elite defense that's shown up that was never more apparent. In week one, when the offense dropped a whopping 2 points and they still beat the Titans, and they've only gotten better. As Caleb Williams has gone through some growing pains, it just really it's been backed up by this defense that's been able to keep them in these close games and not let anything get away from them. So I just think in general that entire division's probably making the playoffs.
That's crazy to think, but yeah, no one talks about that enough. The Bears have an elite defense. They have one of the best defenses in football. It it's insane to think that a whole division can make the postseason, but I think, and I'm saying this being honest, as a Niners fan, I think the NFC West is going to have a down year, and I think in particular, only one team out of that division is going to make the postseason, and I don't know if it's going to be. It might be with a 10-6 record. So yeah, I really see where that the Central is elevated. The Niners and company, it's more of a dogfight. So yeah, it looks like the best division right now in the NFC, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, and I got to give them some love too. Bengals, Ravens, they had an excellent game on Sunday. Lamar Jackson, man, these last 2 weeks, he's gone up against two of the best quarterbacks in the league, and he's come out looking like the best quarterback on the field. He was absolutely terrific against the Bills. He comes out and he looks absolutely terrific against the Bengals. It looks like that Ravens team has, it got off to a slow start, but they're figuring out how to incorporate Derrick Henry into this offense, which is kind of scary. That was the fit. I will be the first to admit that I wasn't sure how it would, work, but he is leading the league in rushing yards. Well, what do you think about this Ravens team so far?
No, I'm impressed that they have found a way to incorporate Derrick Henry. What's interesting to me, if you're the Ravens, if you're Lamar Jackson, is the way Lamar is playing, right? It looks to me like, well, I can see Lamar winning another MVP, right? But I guess the question is, you win the MVP. Let's say they go ahead and win the division again. And let's say the Ravens are another 11-6 or 12-5. Everything they do in a regular season, Brett, it sets them up for the postseason. But the pressure is what hits them, not when they play Buffalo or whoever. The pressure hits them when they play Kansas City, right? Because that's what it comes down to. In a lot of ways, they're very similar. Obviously, I can't say they're on the same level. They remind me of Jim Kelly's Buffalo Bills, where they had all the talent in the world, and they were world beaters in a regular season. They even looked good in the postseason, and then they just hit a peak and got to a point where the pressure would overwhelm them. I'm not wishing that on the Ravens. I'm just wondering at some point, because every team has a run in the NFL where it's their time. And those runs could last 2 to 3 years, and then they're over just like that. You missed your window. And then you have to really start rebuilding it again, the whole nine. I think they're in their window for sure. The problem is, while they're in their window, so is Patrick Mahomes. He's in his window too. And that's the biggest problem. I look at the Chiefs, Brett. They're not playing their best football, not offensively anyway. Their defense is elite, but offensively, and including Patrick Mahomes, they haven't played great, but they're undefeated. That's what's scary. Patrick Mahomes, my guess is he won't win MVP this season, but he also will go into the playoffs like he normally, feeling no pressure at all.
Yeah, it really feels like that Patrick Mahomes is going to prevent a lot of talented quarterbacks from being Super Bowl champs. He's almost going to be in essence like the MJ of this era, where Hey, that was a great quarterback. He just happened to play at the same time Patrick Mahomes was playing, and Mahomes won like 7. So overall,
That's fair.
I completely agree with that. I was actually really getting into debates with people because Nick Wright came out and said that, oh, it's obvious so far Patrick Mahomes is the MVP this year. And I'm like, he's not even been close to the MVP. Like, he hasn't been the MVP. I think if I named the top 5 MVP candidates, if I really thought about it, I don't think Patrick Mahomes, he might not even sniff top 5. Like, he's made plays when he needs to, but he hasn't been overall excellent like we're used to seeing from Patrick Mahomes. But
Right.
the big important thing is he steps up when they need to, and he's doing just enough for his team to win football games. And guess
Right.
what? I have no doubt that he'll do his usual. Second half of the year, normally we see Patrick Mahomes really start to heat up, and he ramps himself up into the best form come playoff time. So I know he's not playing his best football right now, but I'm absolutely not worried about Patrick Mahomes. But I also acknowledge that he definitely has not been the first 5 weeks MVP, which even I think that's a little too early to start that convo. But it looks like Nick Wright got the ball rolling on that one.
And he's not the MVP, but I think when you look at Mahomes, I don't think he worries about regular season MVPs. I think he looks at postseason hardware. And he's very unique because he's capable of putting up huge numbers, but he's also the kind of guy that when he goes into the game plan and he looks and goes, our offense isn't very explosive, but I know how to run clock, manipulate clock, grind out clock, and slow down the other team's offense by keeping them off the field. Like, I think that's part of their game plan as well. As sometimes, look, they just lost their best wide receiver, Rashee Rice, for the rest of the season, and nobody's going, well, that's it. The Chiefs have no shot at getting back to the Super Bowl. It won't be pretty, but I think they find a way to grind out wins in the regular season, and they're built for the postseason.
Yeah, absolutely. Anytime I think of Patrick with Mahomes now, though, well, I just think about this one the debate I had on Twitter with the one guy under that same coach when I said that, and this one guy goes, because I go, Patrick Mahomes undoubtedly the best quarterback, not the MVP so far, and this guy responds and goes, he's not undoubtedly the best quarterback. In fact, the second half of his career, without Tyreek Hill, he's been average. I'm like, he's won 2 Super Bowls without Tyreek Hill, dude. He's been better than average. Some people are so wild, man, when it comes to evaluating talent.
Because they're looking at just numbers, right? And I get it. I understand. There's value in looking at numbers, but when you watch these games play out, even last year in the AFC Championship game against the Ravens, his numbers weren't staggering, but he came in there. He and Andy Reid, and they had a game plan. We're not looking to get into a 30-33 shootout with the Ravens. We're looking to take time off the clock. You know what I mean? Even when we don't score, have a drive that's 6 minutes or so. They know how to manipulate football games. You know who knew how to manipulate football games? Tom Brady did. And I think Patrick Mahomes at a younger age has picked that up and realized I don't have to have an explosive play downfield all the time to get into the end zone. We can grind out a long 12-play, 8-minute drive and get the same results and also take time off the clock. So that's what makes them scary to me.
Yeah, and Andy, I like watching him too because you can tell he extends plays the old-fashioned way. What I mean by that is you got a lot of athletic quarterbacks now that the first thing they do when there's trouble to extend the play is they'll use their legs. What we saw a lot of the other quarterbacks do, like your Tom Brady's, Peyton Manning's, they would extend plays before the play even happened. Go up to the line, read the defense, shift the protection, call out the mic. It's almost something that we've seen less of with the rise of the Shanahan-led offenses, where more so it's, hey, this is what you're doing. Like, all the protection and everything's just built into the game plan. And now quarterbacks tend to buy time using their legs. Well, old school, like, these veteran quarterbacks like Patrick Mahomes now, and, even guys like Geno Smith, watching them go up to the line, shift the protection, and it's been fun. I almost think that's why some of these veterans are the ones leading the MVP race, because these blitzes that are in different schemes that are working against Shanahan style offenses, where it's come out and been said that in that style of offense everybody's more like pawns, like everything's baked into the offense. Well, now these veteran quarterbacks are seeing this cover two look that's stifling them, and all these different blitzes just shifting the protection and making things happen. So I wonder if we'll eventually end up seeing more quarterbacks try to be game managers like that.
I think that, like you said, the league has shifted, where now they're getting these guys that are like elite athletes, and their default is to just rely on their athleticism sometimes. I do like to see guys like Mahomes, a Joe Burrow walk up to the line of scrimmage, even Aaron Rodgers when he's on his game and already recognize, I can see that safety walking up, or I can already tell they're in cover two. To be able to change protections and make adjustments like that, it seems like the further we get along in the NFL in this era, that becomes a lost art.
Yeah, I agree. And, like I said, it's unfortunate. But that's really all I had for us today, Mo. Is there anything you wanted to ask or answer?
No, it was a blast. I appreciate you coming on. Thank you guys so much for joining Brett and I on the morning show. Make sure you check out all the great content we have at Wire to Wire Network. Wire to Wire Network. We appreciate you guys.
And of course, coming up tonight on Wire to Wire Network at 6 o'clock Central, Sideline to Sideline. You can catch us talking some more football there. Catch me, Mean Gene. You can catch Godfrey, and of course, the Prince of Production, Kyle Edwards. And you can catch Mo and I later tonight on the N1 podcast at 8 p.m. Central.
Those two guys are solid.
Oh, yeah. We're talking more preseason. We're talking the GM reports that just came out. And I'm already telling you right now, Mo, we're getting a rant on that one. There's one that drove me absolutely insane. It made me so mad that I read one GM vote, proceeded to just not read anymore for like the rest of the day just because I was so mad about it. So, but we'll be talking about that later tonight. Everybody, thank you for tuning in. Thank you for supporting us. Be sure to check out all of our shows later. And I hope you all enjoy the rest of your day.